Great, thank you very much. I want to start by thanking Liz Ann and Dean Camille Davidson for their tenure on the board. We don't pay our board members anything. It's a gratis, it's a volunteer thing. They do lots of high-level, interesting work for us, and I appreciate the time and effort that everybody puts into it. Thanks, folks. So this is my annual report. Those of you who have seen this before know that I'm going to talk fast. I have a lot of material to cover, so I want you to lean in, and I'll if you want the slides, we'll post them, but we're also making a recording of this to post as well. So I call this legal education's poly crisis and Cali, and of course that needs some explanation. So a poly crisis, by definition, is it's a time of great disagreement or confusion or suffering. It's caused by many different problems happening at the same time. So maybe polycrisis is overstating it a little bit, but I don't know. This is a time of great confusion and change in legal education that I think is going to have a very long and large effect. The big three that I see as part of our legal education's polycrisis is the fact that we're going to have a new bar exam in a couple of years. And I'm going to be talking a lot about the result or the backwash effect of that on legal education. We have graduate debt, we have law school debt going up and up and up, which means that our graduates can't take jobs that can't cover their debt, and fewer of them are looking at jobs that serve an underserved populace, which leads to the third sort of piece of that crisis, the access to justice gap. So these aren't all, so there's some interrelation between all these things. And this doesn't even list all the things that I know you can think of that are problems today. There is a declining enrollment in undergraduate institutions that hasn't that python hasn't moved through, that pig hasn't moved through the python yet to hit law schools quite yet, but it will in the next couple of years. And we're always worried about tech competency and what the crazy stuff that's happening with artificial intelligence is going to do to society and to education and therefore to legal education. So lots of things going on all at the same time. How do we respond? How do our institutions respond? How are lawyers going to practice in the future? How are students going to learn, and so on and so forth? I think all of these things are touched by this by this poly crisis. So if you remember, I also said in Cali, so I'm going to make this relevant to this particular talk. Let me start with the Next Gen Bar. The Next Gen Bar folks or the NCBE has put out sample questions in which they explain what the Next Gen Bar is going to look like. And I wanted to point out a couple of things. One of them is the integrated question sets. Fact scenarios includes legal resources, a police report, or excerpt from a deposition, mixture of multiple choice and short answer questions. Short answer questions, keep that in mind. Of course, multiple choice questions we're all familiar with. The performance tasks, are similar to the MPT, but demonstrate the student's ability to use fundamental lawyering skills in realistic situations. All right, keep that in mind. So that affects. I know that I'm not the first one to say this, and I know that even with talking with some of the folks at NCBE, they know they're going to have back-chaining effects of this bar exam on how we decide to structure our curriculums, how we decide what to teach, and not just the law school success people or the bar prep people, but all law school courses. That maybe there's a better or a different or a new way to be thinking about how we teach that is coherent or cogent with this new future. So now, like a quick change over to Cali to say, we write our lessons. We have 1,200 interactive web-based tutorials. Maybe that number is closer to 1,300 these days. And it all runs inside a very sophisticated piece of software that we've been working on for years called Cali Author. It's web-based. It's a no-code authoring system. It's an instant publishing system. Any faculty member could go into Kali Author right now and write a lesson and have it published as quickly as they can write the lessons. It handles scoring, and it has a whole raft of other features, too many of which me to go over, but I want to touch on a few of them really quick. It allows for branching between questions, so you can have a bit of a choose your own adventure. You can cycle back around if the student gets an easy question wrong, or you can go deeper if they get a hard question right. All those things that are possible inside of Kali Author. It's a very sophisticated piece of software. It has built into the ecology of the system on our website, formative assessment. So faculty can assign lessons and see the scores, and then use that information to change the way they teach. Or they could share that with their students, find out why someone's having a problem. Or on the other side, if everybody's doing really well on a lesson, then maybe things are hitting. So which is the whole point of formative assessment. And in the latest iteration of the software, we've included the ability to drop videos. Now, we did this as part of the Access Lex project, where we had the authors add deeper or more explanatory or more qualitative commentary on specific pages. But the fact that we now handle video inside of a Kali lesson is the key point I want you to take away from that. So you can imagine using Kali Author, not quite the way it is right now, but this is what we're thinking for the future, is using Kali Author as a platform to be able to deliver small or mini or versions of multiple choice question sets, integrated question sets, and performance tasks, that are similar to what's happening on the next gen bar. We know we're going to have to do a lot of work on UI design. We're going to have to add the ability to do more complex branching. And we need to go back to something that we were doing back in the 1980s, interactive video. CYOA stands for Choose Your Own Adventure. So the ability to have a realistic scenario, a realistic situation displayed on the screen, and the ability to either pause it and come back to the student and ask questions, or to have the student interact with the video while the lesson is running. Key thing, we don't want to just do one or two of these. We want to do hundreds of them, thousands of them. We want to bring agency to faculty and be able to train them in a couple of hours in the software, which we can do now with Kali Author. And so we want to just extend that ability so that we can create lots of these. And they could be used in any course, not just in practice courses or clinic, not in doctrine courses, subjects that are being taught or tested on the bar exam. This is going to be a multi-year effort, just like it was a multi-year effort to produce 1,000 lessons. We expect that we're going to want to engage with hundreds of faculty, perhaps thousands. We did that by, our old model of getting lots of lessons written was the fellowship model, where you would get 5 or 10 faculty at a time who would work on 3 to 5 lessons at a time over 6 to 8 months. And then we make them review each other's material and share ideas about how to write a better lesson. So that's what I'm talking about, is Kali already has an ecosystem that we can extend that would then sort of Venn diagram overlap with what's happening with the next gen bar and the back channel effects that's going to have on the way law school is taught. And so this is sort of an aspirational slide, right? Learning the law is sort of like also teaching how to practice, and is also sort of like teaching to what the bar exam tests. I know that's what the goal of NCBE is, and I think we can assist in that process. We can build tooling with Kali Author that already has a vibrant and sophisticated platform upon which we would add these capabilities. That's the hope. So what about AI? I didn't say anything about AI in there, but of course, the things that are happening with AI would play into this as well. Back when the previous slide, when I said, notice the short answer questions. Well, with short answers, you can do things with AI if you constrain or narrow the things that you're asking it to do. In other words, the general purpose AIs like ChatGPT and Bard and so on that you get from Bing, hallucinate. If you get too far outside of their capabilities, it's difficult to trust what they're going to say. But we believe we can build, or we believe we can start to experiment with the idea of building our own LLMs that can essentially do formative assessment on short answer questions. In other words, if they have a model answer to start from, and if they're trained on everything that Callie has, all of our books, all of our lessons, the subject areas, then we can provide asynchronous support for the idea of students running lessons with AI responses in real time. Key point, narrow and targeted. Key point, this would be first draft content generation or some sort of automated formative assessment or a content as a tutor. All of these are, I know I'm doing a lot of hand waving here, but this is the result of, this is me doing a lot of reading and talking to people and saying, I can see it in the distance, and it's something that we should start to shoot for. And that's where Callie is going, at least it is in the next, in the coming year. So, okay, let's keep moving. Quick stats from 2023. We've got an increase in eLangdell downloads, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. Slight decreases in lesson runs and in registrations at the website. But a key point about the lesson runs is that 178,000, more than a third of those are from lesson links. And that's wonderful. That's exactly what we want. We're totally happy with students showing up to the website and saying, hey, I need a new way to learn. I want to see if Callie can help. And that happens a lot, several 100,000 times a year. But ideally, we also want faculty assigning or recommending lessons, and even better, using lesson link, creating lesson links and giving those links to their students so that they see the scores that the students aggregate for them. And that seems to be happening more and more, at least as part of a percentage of our lesson runs. We have a lot of new lessons this year. I'm not going to read these off the screen, but you can go to Callie.org/lessons_new. We finished up the Law School Success 2 fellowship with much thanks. Thank you, Access Lex, for funding that, and added new lessons there: policy-based analysis, study scheduling, advanced reading for law school. Those lessons are very popular, especially among the academic success people. So check those out. And during that second fellowship, they created a whole bunch of brand new podcasts as well. Multiple modalities for learning. Podcasts are learning that you can do when you're driving or at the gym or something like that. We're getting quite a large collection of podcasts. So take a look at them at Callie.org/podcasts. We have so many books that are either published or in progress right now. Again, I can't read these to you. I'll just point out that we're in our 7th edition of the Sources of American Law, an Introduction to Legal Research. We've got new books coming in. These are all the new and revised for fall and spring of 2024. But we've got new titles coming in the summer. Notice constitutional law, social media law, constitutional law, individual rights. When we talk to the authors, they want to publish with us because they agree and understand our model where they do get paid, but there's no revenue, there's no royalty stream, and our materials are then made freely available to students. So it's a different economic model, and it's working. We're seeing larger take-up of our materials. I always like to point out the fact that the books are so large that we went to a new POD, Publisher on Demand, in which the big books get put into binders. I think actually most of the books are available in binder format as well as other formats. And students love that, right? They don't have to haul the whole dead tree around. They can snap out the chapters that they want. But for us, it was just we had to be realistic. We could not publish a 900-page book. The PODs can't handle that, and we hated to do 2 volumes because that costs more money. So even innovation in the dead tree world. If you want to be an author, or if you think any of your faculty are interested in being an author, there's a webpage there that explains the deal. But they should get in touch with us. We're always looking for new authors. And I can't go past this point without thanking the superstars of Deb Quintel and Sarah Smith, who are the only, I mean, two people doing all of this publishing work. It's mind-boggling that we pull this off at all. So thanks, Deb and Sarah. So, with 36,000, almost 37,000 downloads just in the last year, even at $100 a book, which is probably underplaying it here, that's $3.5 million worth of value. So if this was the only thing that Cali did, your dues are being, returned back to you through your students, at one and a half, two or two and a half times the value. But I want to say that the interest and the excitement or the growth around Elaine Dell, I think we can do 10x here. Now that would require more amphetamines for Sarah and Deb, or actually no, that would require more people to actually do that sort of work. And that would require a commitment by the membership to say, we want you to do more. We want you to be 30, 40, 50% of what is like $100 or $100 million market, because it's a better model. It gives you more capabilities. In other words, if you can download the Microsoft Word version of the book, you can rearrange it. You can assign multiple books and not worry about multiple hundreds of dollars, right? You can say, I just want to yank one chapter out of one chapter out of another. And as we talk to new authors, they're getting that. Some of the new books are, they realize that people aren't likely to have a course that matches the book, but they have other courses. There's 4 or 5 other courses where they're going to want to yank a chapter out of their book and use it for that. And that's an innovation that you can't do if you have a digital rights management model, or if you're always making sure that you're grabbing, the $250 so that you can pay the royalty. So our business model allows this sort of innovation. A to J Author is humming along. Document automation is a great learning tool. And it too has a huge return on investment. We proved that with a project that we completed this year with the Kentucky courts. They automated a dozen forms. I had that number in my head, and Jessica should just drop it in the chat. And they're getting used 30, 40,000 times a year. Their folks have paired with us on several presentations. They're very happy with using A to J Author to deliver up more access to justice. 13 forms this year, Jessica pops up, tells me. We do presentations to schools. This is not all of them. I can never keep this thing up to date. To your students, we have the ability to do projects with your students, even projects that only take 2 or 3 hours. It's on the website, a2jauthor.org/learning materials. But if you want us to help, or you want us to give a presentation at your school, you should email Jessica. She's a superstar at this sort of thing. She's done lots of these presentations over the years, and we can make it relevant to your particular needs. All right, we're getting close to the end here. So there's a conference coming up. We're going to be at University of Washington in Seattle. Thank you, Carlo Whale, for offering to sponsor us. And you should know that this is the most fun conference for law school people out there. It's also probably one of the cheapest. It's $249, but if you register before May 17th, it's a early bird for $149. 2024.calicon.org is the website. Ask anybody who's been to a conference. You get well fed. There's something like 5 or 6 meals and snacks at every single break, right? So I'm getting close to the end here. I want to thank my executive committee: Steve Johnson, Larry Cunningham, Amy, and Maria. Or let me get myself out of Maria's space here. There we are. For their work, and I want to thank my entire board of directors, including the new ones, for their volunteer work in helping out Cali. The board is taking on a huge task this year as well. We're going to be doing a year-long strategic planning project. We're going to have a retreat with the conference in Seattle There's a lot of things that are on our plate. You know, that poly crisis is Cali's poly crisis as well. Succession planning. I'm not getting any younger, and neither are a lot of other Cali staff, and so we want to start planning a few years early for that transition. How, you know, the things that I just talked about, how does the next gen bar and what is the future of Cali lessons, including how we're going to use and integrate AI into those opportunities. What's the future of our work on access to justice with A to J author, market dynamics and future prospects? And basically I added that this is about money. If you want to do more things, you have to raise the money. You have to hire the staff who cost money to do those things. Is that dues? Is that grants? Is that fundraisers? Is that partnerships? You know, we need to see how we can expand our capabilities. And of course, we're always concerned about and trying to figure out how diversity, how DEI fits into the Cali mission across all the things we do, our publishing, our authors, our author pools, our board members, our staff, and so on. So the board's got that, has pulled that stuff onto their plate. So you two new board members who didn't know about this retreat project, yeah, we're going to be putting you in charge of that. So I want to thank, of course, the authors who write our lessons and the fellows, the CEBers who keep us honest by telling us that the material needs to be a little bit better, and the reps, that's hopefully a lot of you who let people know that we exist. Our marketing budget is thin, and so we rely heavily on you to get the word out. Of course, everybody who speaks at the conference or the registrars, I didn't even talk about awards. There's 10 or 15 new schools using awards this year. That's popular. And the students who run the lessons. Thanks, folks. So Cali is a small operation. There's only, 11 of us. But this July, we're going to be saying goodbye to Deb. Deb has announced her retirement after 27 years with Cali. And I can't tell you how horrible this is for us or for me. I consider her a friend and colleague. I know she's not dying. She's just retiring. But I'm gonna miss her sorely. And so we've already begun the process of trying to fill that Deb-shaped hole that's inevitable in Cali. So if you're interested in working for Cali and you think we're a fun bunch, you know, send me an email. We'll be getting some information about that posted in the next few weeks. And if this was a room, I would demand a standing ovation for Deb, but it's Zoom, so you all have to either do that or stick around afterwards. I see congratulations coming in the chat. Thanks for that, folks. Good. It's been about 30 minutes, but that's my talk. By all means, if you want to stick around and ask us questions or just chat on any topic, we're always open to it. The retreat will involve some interactions with memberships. We're going to be doing some surveys and some focus groups, so you'll be hearing more about that. And we crave your feedback, all right? So I'm going to stop my share at this point and say, turn it back to Amy to adjourn the meeting.
Great. Thank you very much, John, for that summary, and huge congratulations to Deb. You're going to be sorely missed for sure. Well, thank you, everyone. This concludes our agenda for today. But as John said, I invite you to stay on. We'll go ahead and adjourn, but please do stay on if you have more questions, anything else that you want to discuss further. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
And give us your name.
John Edwards Drake moves to adjourn.
Thanks.
Second. And your name.
Troy
Dave.
Johnson, Creighton University, move to adjourn.
Thank you, Troy. All right. Thanks again, everyone. I say go ahead and raise your hands if you have any questions you want to discuss.
Great. We're done. Thanks, folks. But if you want to stick around, staff will stick around and we'll chat.